sponsorship that has invited you to this event. It is my honor and privilege to introduce you to this evening, welcome you to this evening and introduce our main presenter. We've heard of this word gut in many relationships. We say gut instinct, we've heard of gut reset, we've heard of gut-brain axis, we've heard of so many things as far as the gut is concerned. But when I read today's topic, it actually made my gut churn. You know why? Because somewhere in my family, sometime many years back, there was a person who was affected by this syndrome. And as youngsters, we saw him in his prime, we saw him in his heyday. And now when I hear the relationship that is going to be spoken about, it makes me look at his lifestyle and wonder, wow, maybe there is very strong evidence, which of course is going to be presented to us by none other than the steward of this opportunity, the person who's heralding this, our Emerald Direct, Farooq Tarapur. Over to you, Farooq.
Thank you, Manveer, and good evening, and welcome to yet another exciting Friday session to not only improve your health, but to help your friends and family improve their health and help us in achieving our vision to make every house less dependent on medication and as much as possible medicine-free by adopting some basic lifestyle changes. Understanding good healthy practices, implementing them, and believing that you can do it is critical to ensure that you and your friends have a good health span, less dependent on medication. Advancement in medical science is a double-edged sword. While medication can increase lifespan, in many cases, it does not improve health span. That is the whole purpose of this community. What we have noticed, that if you're a part of a healthy community and you are aware of the healthy choices, it is likely that you will follow some parts of the healthy program. If you're aware of healthy choices, even when you're making bad ones, you will tend to limit the damage of those bad choices. For example, when someone on the community are making bad choices, I often get to hear that I did not eat the whole caramel custard. I just had 1/4. These messages give us great joy to the impact we are making on the health of the community members. Some, after realizing the benefits, have even reported that even though I was at a party, we were at a party, but we made disciplined decisions. It is a known fact that if you give the body the right amount of nutrition and the right amount of exercise, not too much and not too little, you would have found the safest way to good health. Nutrition and exercise are two of the important components of good health. The important questions are what to eat, the right balance of macro and micronutrients, how much to eat, just enough to get the right balance between macro and micronutrients, depending upon the energy you are expending. Are you taking the right supplements to bridge the nutritional gap? The body, the food that you eat has a certain amount of nutrition. Your body needs a certain amount of nutrition. There is generally a gap between the nutrition you are getting from the food that you eat and the nutrition required by the body. Are you bridging the gap with quality supplementation? Even a single deficiency of a micronutrient can make you feel fatigued. The next question is, when to eat? Are you observing the circadian rhythm? We have talked a lot about it in the previous sessions. But let us assume that you're providing the best nutrition to your body. But if your gut health is not working optimally, do you think that nutrition is going to reach various parts of the body? Imagine that you have a really good car and you are putting the best fuel in it. But if the car is not serviced, do you think the car is going to run efficiently? It is the same with gut health. For the gut health to be in excellent shape, you need the good bacteria to be 85% and bad bacteria to be 15%. In order to achieve that, you need to have the right fiber and pre and probiotics and the principles of morning nutrition adopted in your daily lifestyle. Then only you're going to be able to adjust this balance between your good and bad bacteria. You must eat your breakfast like a king, lunch like a prince, and early dinner before sunset like a pauper. It is important to understand foundations of good health. Aging is a natural process, but aging healthy is a matter of choice. Good health is not built in a day, or a week, or a month, or a year. It is a continuous process of adopting healthy practices which give your body a higher probability to live a stronger, energetic, and healthier life with minimum support from medication. Today, people are so dependent on medication that they think that this is the ultimate answer. And the reason is because we grew up in a society where the society, told us to move in that direction. And it's because most people don't know that there are options. And on this community, we'll keep discussing these options. Okay, since the topic is on Parkinson's disease and its connection to gut health, it was important to give gut health its due importance before we took a deep dive in Parkinson's disease. It is a horrible disease. Every one of us is aware of that. And it will not only make the patient's life miserable, but also upset the life of the people living around that patient. Let us now try to understand the correlation between gut health and Parkinson's disease. Many people who get Parkinson's disease experience GI symptoms like constipation and nausea for years, sometimes even decades, prior to developing motor symptoms like difficulty walking or tremors. Okay, that comes much, much later. So you need to understand where it starts. Now, a recent study has added weight to the hypothesis that Parkinson's disease may actually originate in the gut. Wow. This is a big revelation because we've been talking about gut health, how to improve gut health and see how important it is. And this is basically challenging the long-held belief that Parkinson's disease begins in the brain. Since now the whole thing is now topsy-turvy. First, it was thought that Parkinson's disease starts from the brain and then it goes to the gut. Now research has, proved although it's in the early stages, okay, but there is enough evidence now to suggest that Parkinson's disease actually starts in the gut, if not years, sometimes even decades earlier. And imagine if we were to just look after the gut, we could be so much better off in preventing Parkinson's disease in the future. Researchers have found that people with upper gastrointestinal conditions such as ulcers and ossifical damage are more likely to develop Parkinson later in life. A growing body of evidence suggests that at least in a subset of individuals, Parkinson's disease originates in the gut before affecting the central nervous system. Now, this is so profound. This is so important to understand, that most people would think, oh, I just got, like diagnosed for Parkinson. No, it happens, years or, decades earlier. And if we can take care of this, okay, if we can be conscious of the fact that how important is gut health, then you will prevent yourself, you're likely to prevent yourself damage in the future. Many people who get Parkinson's disease experience GI symptoms like constipation and nausea for years, much before they develop motor symptoms like difficulty walking or tremors. Research labs have been trying to better eliminate this gut first pathway of Parkinson's disease because it can open up a new avenue for early intervention and treatment strategies. Can you imagine if you knew that how it starts? Okay, then you would start to attack, like it is, modern medicine often says, okay, which is actually a problem over there, that they tend to deal with the symptom. So as long as you're dealing with the symptom, you will never be able to get onto the cure. But once you know the origin of the problem and you attack the origin, then you are moving on to great health. This new perspective in Parkinson's disease, okay, could reshape how we approach early detection and treatment of the disease. Understanding the connection between the gut and brain, we've been saying this often, in many sessions we have mentioned that there's a gut-brain axis, okay, might lead to more efficient strategies for managing symptoms and slowing down the disease progression. Yeah. This gut first hypothesis is gaining a lot of traction here. Harvard studies provide compelling evidence for the gut first hypothesis of Parkinson's disease. Researchers found that misfolded, understand and listen to this very carefully, alpha synuclein proteins, which are a key in Parkinson's progression, can originate in the gut and travel to the brain via the vagus nerve. Originally, nobody ever thought about that. This supports the idea that the disease may begin in the gastrointestinal tract, where it can remain dormant before affecting the brain. Now, this theory differs from the traditional brain-first hypothesis, which suggests that Parkinson begins in the brain and eventually impacts other areas like the gut. The gut-first theory is gaining support as many Parkinson patients reported gastrointestinal issues such as constipation years before motor symptoms like tremor appears. Now, is this making sense? That imagine just looking after your gut, making sure that having the right amount of the good bacteria in your gut as compared to the bad bacteria, how important that is, rather than just, people used to think gut health means, constipation, digestive issues. No, they are related to the overall good health. Importance of gastrointestinal symptoms in early detection is critical. Gastrointestinal conditions like chronic constipation, ulcers, and esophageal damage are now considered early warning signs of Parkinson. The Harvard study highlights how these conditions may reflect underlying problems with the centric nervous system, where misfolded proteins could accumulate before spreading to the brain. This is the start. This is the basis where people, get impacted by Parkinson. Now, patients with chronic gut issues may face an elevated risk of developing Parkinson's disease. And that is why we are saying, pay more attention to your gut health. Make sure you got the right amount of fiber, make sure you got the right amount of pre and probiotics, make sure that you look after your morning nutrition. It is sometimes quite upsetting that even after repeatedly talking about it on the community, we find that somebody says that I've had a fruit for breakfast. Well, the fruit is good, but is it a balanced breakfast? Is it really going to look after your gut? So from today onwards, whatever you are doing, whenever you're eating, whatever food you're putting on your plate, ask yourself that question, that is this going to improve my gut health? If it is not going to improve my gut health, then for heaven's sake, don't do it. Try and get more information. How can I improve my gut health? How can I use the right fiber? How can I improve the right pre and probiotics? How can I ensure that I've got all the right macro and micronutrients? How often do I have to do gut cleansing? I get this question many times. And my answer is very simple. It all depends upon your own discipline. If your discipline is good, then maybe you need a gut reset maybe once in a year. But if your discipline is bad, maybe you need it every 3 months. Because the more damaging foods, the more high-calorie foods that you're eating, the more refined foods that you're eating, and you keep on putting that into the system, you are damaging your gut. And the more you damage your gut, it is unlikely that the nutrients, even if you're taking the best supplements, are unlikely to reach the various parts of your body. So patients with this chronic gut issues may face elevated risk of developing Parkinson. Research suggests that some symptoms like constipation can appear decades before, motor dysfunction, offering a critical early window for diagnosis. So if your gut is not good, if it's not healthy, don't just take it lightly. Don't just think it's just a digestive problem. Okay. It has got many, many things attached with it. So esophageal issues such as difficulty swallowing or acid reflux may also be linked to disruptions in the gut-brain communication, potentially serving as early markers of Parkinson. You got to be extremely careful. So, when somebody talks about acid reflux, who gets serious really about acid reflux? Nobody. Who gets serious about gut health? Nobody. Until the time you are aware that, oh my God, this has got really serious implications, Like if I don't do this right, I'll have to suffer the consequences. And the consequences don't look very good. So we need to start, doing a shift in the mindset. What am I eating? Is it really good for my gut? If it is not, don't do it. If it is only high calories and the food is less in nutrition, don't eat that. I can understand if it's done once in a while. I can understand if it's done as an exception to the rule. But if it is a regular thing, you're regularly eating fast food, then you need to change. You can't be eating pizzas and hamburgers and vada pav, on a regular basis. You can't be eating sweets, all the time. Because all this we know damage the gut. And if you damage the gut, today we've just figured out one of the things, that will catch up with you years or a decade and a half or 2 decades later. Now, all this research has led to changing approaches to diagnosis and prevention. This new understanding of Parkinson's origin is going to make a significant change, in the preventive care and doctors can begin screening for gastrointestinal symptoms, particularly in people who are at higher risk, such as those with family history of Parkinson. Now, see, if you got a family history of Parkinson and you got a gut problem, you are in serious trouble. By identifying and monitoring individuals, okay, with chronic constipation or gut inflammation, early intervention might be developed to slow or prevent the disease from progressing to the brain. How cool can that be? You know, such a simple research, such a targeted research, and what an amazing impact it can have on a person, rather than, you know, getting Parkinson and then trying to deal with it. Trust me, it's very, very difficult to do that. Now, this is also going to lead to a lot of changes, you know, in preventing care. We're promoting gut health through diet, pre and probiotics, and other intervention could become a key strategy to reducing Parkinson risk. No, emerging treatments are targeting this gut-brain axis now. The focus on the gut-brain connection is opening up new avenues for treatment. Emerging treatments are now focusing on the gut-brain axis as a potential intervention point for Parkinson. Pre and probiotics, microbiome modulating therapies. You know, we talk so much about pre and probiotics. We have been talking so much about, you know, the microbiome, you know, the 85% good bacteria, 15% bad bacteria. I can assure you that from the people on this platform over here, 50% would not have this ratio right. This is like, you know, it's 100% predictable, because we have gone so far in eating the wrong food that people have really forgotten what good nutrition is all about. You know, in the earlier days, we ate 50 years ago in India, people ate little food, but it was high in nutrition and low in calories. And that is why you did not see many overweight people. Now, what we are seeing is a reversal in trend. We are seeing a lot of people eating a high calorie food, high calorie diet, and which is extremely low in nutrition. Now, all the anti-inflammatory treatments targeting the gut and therapies that modulate the vagus nerve are also being now under research. So while these treatments are still in experimental stages, early trials are showing great promise. Okay, the whole approach is going to change, but the approach medicine can't change that approach. You have to change the approach, because if you haven't looked after your gut, that is definitely the consequence that you are going to face. But if you looked after your gut, then it is very likely that, you know, you're not going to get this disease. So this evolving research from Harvard and other institutions offers new hope for Parkinson patients by highlighting the gut's critical role in the disease's development. By addressing gastrointestinal symptoms early on, we may be able to significantly alter the course of the disease. But don't you think that better still is to ensure that your gut remains good so that you lower the percentage tremendously in your favor? Okay, let us sum up over here. To lower the probability of getting Parkinson, ensure that you maintain good gut health. With the correct use of fiber and pre and probiotics and giving morning nutrition its due importance to ensure that you have 85% good bacteria and 15% bad bacteria. Understand the lifestyle changes you need to lead a healthy life. If you change the lifestyle that can get you into trouble, chances are that you can be free of medicine. You can do it and help us to grow this community where we can keep sharing healthier choices so that you can preserve the amazing body God has gifted you. You get one life. Let us lead it well. Understand the difference between health span and lifespan. You can make the right choices. Make the change now. You can do it. Let us together get excited about this community and take it to every house in the country. Educate people on preventing medicine and help everyone make healthier choices by participating in a community and remain connected to healthy lifestyle. Let us spread the message, Har Ghar Medicine Free. Thank you.
Wow, wasn't that absolutely awesome, Farooq? Thank you so much. I'm on edge. I'm actually sitting and looking at my plate and saying, should I, shouldn't I? Why should I? Why shouldn't I? I mean, amazing, fantastic information, Farooq. This is shocking, scary, revealing, and insightful. Brilliant. Thank you so much for sharing this with us, Farooq. Ladies and gentlemen, if there are any questions, we'll request Farooq to stay on for a few minutes to answer those questions. Please, you can unmute yourself or raise your digital hand and we'll unmute you. And we'll let you ask your question to Farooq.
May I, sir?
Yes, please.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sir, I'm Kinnari from Gujarat, and my main problem is I had acid reflux, as you said. Many years of stress and heavy workload. I'm a pediatric cardiac anesthetist, and I had a lot of stressful life for many years. And the headache was a side product of that stressful life. So I kept on taking painkillers for headache, and that eventually I went into bad stomach, bad guts, and acid reflux. So for acid reflux became so bad that I had to undergo a fundoplasty surgery.
Oh.
So they had to reduce the that sphincter, which was so wide open between esophagus and stomach, that the food was coming back into my food pipe. So they had to do that. Now, but the complication of this surgery is that my IBS has aggravated, irritable bowel syndrome. So now I am tackling that. So एक में से बाहर आए, मैं दूसरे प्रॉब्लम में गिर गया. अभी now with the help of Farooq sir, I'm getting really better, but this disease is such that it is like, you know, a slow progress and slow result giving thing. So now again I had some problem. I had to take painkiller, and painkiller is killing my guts. So sir, thank you very much for your lecture series, which is really helping me. But I really want you to have a lecture again on this microbiome and whatever research has come out on vagus therapy or other supplements which can help me with my IBS. I'll be very
Doctor,
grateful.
we can't do anything about the past now, right?
Right.
But
Right.
what you can now, with all this knowledge and the research that is available to you, you can now start making more conscious decisions. So
Yes.
let's assume that a 20-year-old, for them to keep their gut healthy, will take us slightly, you know, it will take lesser effort than for you now. Okay,
Exactly.
because of the past damage. So let's not worry about the past, because we cannot change the past, but we can always look for a healthier future. And now that
Yes.
you know about all this, and I know the amount of changes that you have made and the amount of you know, medicines that you know, not taken in order
Yeah.
to, because you have learned in this community. I think
Yes.
you need to be really focused on the future and just make sure that, because of all these past complications, you need to, you know, put in at least 200% effort in ensuring that your you know, gut is healthy. And you need to
True.
be really, you know, really look at your plate and say, okay, is this what is going to give me 85% good bacteria, and or is this going to give me, you know,
Yeah.
only 50% good bacteria? Because
True.
at least that, let's not worry about what we cannot control, but let's worry about what we can control. And in
Definitely.
that case, I would really recommend that,
Hmm.
if a 20-year-old is putting 100% effort, you should be putting 200% effort, and you will find that your
Yes.
future will be much better. Thank you.
Yes, sir. With your continuous guidance, I'm like going. I'm not like I cannot say I have completed my path, but I'm on the way, and I'm trying to do that.
As long as the progress is good,
Yeah,
as long as you're moving in the right
it's
direction,
really
it is
yeah.
important.
I have a lot of changes in my body with after getting into the community. So thank
Good.
you for that.
Nice to hear that. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Farooq, one of the questions that somebody had asked me actually when I was talking to them about this program, what is Parkinson's? I mean, I think there is a very little understanding of, they know the word, they know the possibility that it's a disease, but what is Parkinson's?
It's basically the person loses motor skills,
Okay.
like walking and all. And the original thought process was that it's brain oriented.
Right.
Okay, that it originates from the brain, and in fact, the thought process was that the brain then ultimately impacts the gut.
Right.
But now they have found it's completely the other way around.
Right.
Okay. So if you turn around and say that if your gut is healthy,
right.
Okay. Or rather, I would say the other way around, that if your gut is unhealthy and if you got past history, family history of Parkinson, you're more likely to get it.
Right.
So keeping this, in our armory, of this knowledge, now if you start thinking, okay, I may not have, family history, or I may have family history, but if I still look after my gut properly, then, I'm likely to reduce the probability of getting Parkinson.
Okay. And we know for a fact that it's not reversible, right? Once it sets in, it sets in. All you can do is manage it in terms of slowing it down.
Very difficult. It's miserable. I have seen a lot of people suffering from Parkinson, and it sends a normal person feels shivers, sends shivers up their spine.
I know.
When they see people, it's very depressing to see people like that.
Yes.
So it's better that, you don't go into the cure part, but you go into the prevention part and ensure that you and hope that you don't get there.
Farooq, is there a possibility that we could request you to do a talk like this once again in a couple of months, so that we can have a bigger audience and possibly people get more information and ask you more relevant questions?
We can do that.
Thank you so much, Farooq. Thank you so much.
Anybody else? I think Padma has raised her hand. Yeah, Padma, go ahead.
I totally agree with you. I'm already facing one with me now. Janardhan is having the same thing. And what I would like to ask you is, I came to know this dopamine, when you're taking this Syndopa, which is helping to produce dopamine in the brain, doesn't allow the proteins. Got it?
Does dopamine allow the proteins to work in?
Doesn't allow the proteins to absorb.
No.
It is like that, they say, but I would like to know how much protein I can give before Syndopa or after Syndopa.
Well,
right now I'm giving him 3 scoops.
Hello?
Yeah, right now I'm giving him 3 scoops. Can you hear me?
No, I can't hear you.
Farooq, she said right now she's giving 3 scoops. She wanted to know how much protein she can give with the medicine that is being administered for Parkinson's.
Well, it is very simple. How much does he weigh?
Pardon, how much? He weighs. His weight is 71.
71.
Yeah.
He needs definitely 71 grams of protein on a daily basis.
Okay. But
you can see many people, I'm going to digress a little bit over here, not a part of this topic. But even when people are with renal failure, doctors tell them that don't have protein. You know why? Because otherwise the kidney is going to get affected. But they don't realize that, they're so focused on saving the kidney that they don't care if the whole person dies. So you got to, the minute you start getting focused, on one particular organ and lose the bigger picture of overall holistic health, you are in trouble. It is the whole person is first more important than any single, part or organ of the body. Now, protein is a building block of life. You need protein on a daily basis. Without protein, there cannot be repair. Without protein, you know, the the building blocks, I mean, everything's going to break down. So ultimately, you may end up saving the kidney, but the person will die. So the same thing over here, that protein is extremely essential, and that is why we keep insisting that in your morning nutrition, please ensure that you got at least 30, 40, 50 grams, depending upon your weight. You got that protein in. If you're not getting in, supplement it with Neutralite protein powder. This is the best protein powder you can have on this planet Earth. Extremely safe, and it will at least bridge that nutritional gap of the protein macronutrient that you're otherwise not getting. The minute you start creating the gap from morning, okay, you are putting your body behind the game here. And morning nutrition is so important to ensure that you stay ahead of the game as far as nutrition is concerned. Now, I've often said that it is important that both in terms of nutrition and hydration to stay ahead of the game. Don't put the water into your body after you sweat. Okay, make sure that you put the water in the body and you sweat after that. When you need the energy, make sure you put the nutrition in and then expand the energy. Don't exercise and then put in the nutrition. No, do it first. So nutrition is extremely important. Protein is extremely important. It doesn't matter what you are suffering, what's happening. Okay, maybe you can reduce it a little bit, but you cannot stop it. If you stop it, your whole body is going to die. It's going to pack up. It's a building block of life. It's essential for life. Life cannot exist without protein.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Yes, I think Farooq has reiterated this many times that you treat the person, treat the whole body. Don't just worry about one organ at a time or one symptom at a time. Look at it more holistically. I think Farooq has said that many times over and over again. Are there any more questions? And this is very much like the statement that Robin Williams makes in the movie Patch Adams, where he says that if you treat the person, you will always win. If you treat the disease, you don't know what will be the outcome. Treat the person. It's beautifully said, Farooq. Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, if there are no more questions, we can bring this meeting to a close, and we look forward to our next session on Monday. Therefore, I'm sure Farooq will have planned something more interesting, more exciting, and something more relevant for us in terms of our health, our nutrition, and our wellness. So, Farooq, thank you so much for joining us this evening, and thank you for these beautiful insights you had on the gut and Parkinson's. Really appreciate this. Thank you so much. Good night, everybody.